Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Anmoll Astrology channel. Now, first of all, thank you so much for such a great response on the previous video. And there was a question that was frequently asked in the previous video that if the seventh house and seventh lord of D1 signifies everything about the spouse, then what does the seventh house and seventh lord of D9 does? Or simply, how can we know about the spouse, the characteristics, appearance, and etc., or whatever we could know about the spouse through the D9 chart? Okay, so the explanation would be in this video. So first of all, we need to understand that there is a difference between D1 and D9 chart. D1 is basically the chart which is upfront. Since that's our birth chart, that is not the result. That's something we have carried forward. And D9 is actually the result that we make through our karma, or which is written that this is the result we are going to get. See, every time this happens, even in a career, things, even in someone's profession, someone's personal life, everything doesn't stay similar throughout. Sometimes we get things in a certain way, but with time, things transform into something else. So similarly, our life transforms from the D1 to the D9. As we mature, we experience a lot of things. Our thinking transforms, our personality transforms, our physical looks transforms, our choices transforms. What we like, what we dislike, that also changes. So that is about going from the D1 chart to D9 chart. And there are n number of things we can discuss about it, about suppose the D1 ascendant and the D9 ascendant, how you are going to transform on a personal level, personality level, physical level, on an emotional level, everything we can discuss about it. But today the focus is going to be how to see whatever you can see about the marriage through the D9 chart. Okay, so I am going to refer to two major points here. First is going to be that how you can perceive your behavior and your focus of life from the D1 to D9, like what your focus in life and what your behavior within the marriage is going to be after marriage, and the behavior and the focus or the personality of spouse through the D9. First point will be this. The second point is going to be that whichever planet is placed in the first or the seventh house, or is aspecting the first or the seventh house of D9, that has the most say within the theme of the marriage. So based on the planet, which planet is placed in the first or the seventh of D9, or which planet is aspecting the first and the seventh of the D9, you are going to know the theme of the marriage. Okay, so let's start firstly with the placement of the D1 first lord and seventh lord. So you guys know that in your birth chart, the first lord is going to represent you, yourself, and the seventh lord is going to represent your spouse, right? So now what you have to do so as to see that how you are going to transform in your life, or your spouse is going to transform in your life, first of all, for yourself, refer to the first lord. Refer to the first lord of D1. Suppose your D1's first lord is Jupiter. See where Jupiter is placed in the D9 chart, your D9 chart. That is going to tell you what is going to be your focus in life after marriage. And the sign and the house placement will tell you how you are going to transform, in which personality you are going to transform after your marriage. Similarly, it is going to be about the seventh house. The seventh lord, whatever the seventh lord of D1 is, suppose it's Mercury. So where does Mercury go within the D9 chart? It is not necessary that the same planets are going to be the first and seventh lord of D9. Remember that. I'm just talking about taking the lords of the D1 chart and taking its placement in the D9. Okay, I hope that is clear to everyone. Right? So you have to see where the D1 first lord and D1 seventh lord is placed within the D9 chart. That is going to tell you your focus area. Suppose it is in the first house. Suppose the D1 first lord is in the first house, or D1 seventh lord is in the first house. That means the person will have a lot of contribution within the marriage. Why? Because D9 chart is the chart of the spouse. Now, in Parashara Light software, D9 is referred to as the chart of the spouse, and that it is specifically written. We'll follow it with an example when I'll share my screen, and you guys will have a better clarity about it. Okay, so whenever the planet is in the first house, that means the planet is the person, be it be you, be it be your partner, are going to be much involved within the marriage. Their main goal is going to be about building on a stability and secure grounds from the marriage. Why? Because the first house of the D9 is referred to as the overall overview of the marriage, and first house otherwise also in D1 is said to be the house which is most visible. So these people want to have fame. These people want to have that recognition. So they work towards it within the marriage. If the lords of the first or the seventh house of D1 is in the second house of D9 chart, Navamsha chart, then it means that the person's focus is going to be towards the finances, towards the family, towards the building on a stable and foundational security for an individual, especially in material aspects, because it is the second house, the house of wealth, income, and family and assets. And their focus is to build a good lifestyle. Now, whichever planet is going to get involved, that will tell you what sort of lifestyle. A disciplined lifestyle like Saturn, a ambitious lifestyle like Mars, a luxurious lifestyle like Venus, a sporty, not sporty, but an adventurous lifestyle with Mercury. Okay, so if it is in the third house, I'm not going to give total explanation, but I'm going to give 2 to 3 points for each houses so you guys have a better clarity about it. So with the third house, the focus of the marriage of that particular individual is about making efforts within the marriage, making, traveling, and because third house is actually about the communication, the efforts, the courage. It is also about traveling, it's about learning, it's about going through the experiences that teach you something. So third house and ninth house, these are actually quite similar but yet different, because third house is about getting teachings at a lower level, but ninth house is about getting teachings at a higher level. Okay, so third house, we can also say people. If suppose there is a concerned planet, which is Venus or it is Mercury and going into the third, that means the person wants to have a good physique and even motivates the other person so as to have a good appearance. So both of them can be very involved into physical activities like gymming, running, and all the youthful activities. Okay. Then fourth house, if the concerned planet, the first lord of D1 or the the seventh lord of D1 is in the fourth house of D9 chart, that means that the person's focus is about building a home, accumulating assets, in getting involved within the mechanism of home. So if a girl has it, that means that girl is quite homely, quite nurturing, and they want to have a family, a big, happy family. And if a boy has it, that means the same. That particular man is going to be much involved in the household activities and is going to be concerned about the household activities a lot. Okay, that person, that man is not going to be an ignorant individual or an ignorant man. Okay, if it's fifth house, that it means that these people are very knowledgeable. They want to accumulate more and more Vedantic and more spiritual knowledge. It can be spiritual, it can be Vedantic, or it can be related to, for example, in a different sense, it can be related to shares, investments. So their life is, or their focus is about increasing their wealth. Okay, and their focus is also going to be the children, all the fifth house related matters, and these people will have a very romantic bond. But there is one drawback with the first or the seventh lord going into the fifth, that these sort of people will require romance like 24/7 or most of the times. So in case they do not get a similar partner, it can actually lead to extramarital affairs. I'm not saying that it is definitely going to be like that, because of course you have to see the whole chart for that. But it's just that they want that romance. They want that happy side of the marriage more than the difficult and sacrificial side of the marriage. Okay, so if the other partner's chart also complies this or also balances this out, then there will be a happy marriage. Otherwise, there can be conflicts. Okay, then the sixth house. See, the first lord or the seventh lord going into the sixth house can have different meanings. Mostly, I have seen people saying that this will lead to divorce, this will lead to separation. But when I started predicting practically with, like, for people, I started listening to their stories, because being astrologer is not just about speaking to them, just giving out your predictions. It's more of a therapy session, and it's more of counseling. So you need to listen to the other person, you need to listen to your client, so as to get some knowledge out of like how things work actually. Because I know I'm going very off topic, but I have seen this. People, mostly people are very not very happy with some of the astrologers, because they just predict and they just feel that they have all the knowledge, and they don't lend a ear to listen to the individual. Because most of the times people come to an astrologer so as to get assurance, so as to feel better, so as to have an understanding from a learned individual. So, always and always listen to the person. Listening is very good. It's actually 90% of therapy is about listening, right? So, in the sixth house, what can happen? It can lead to conflicts or disputes, but it simply means that the person will be either very, very involved in the routine. They will be very, very involved within the daily life, and they'll be very Virgo like personality. Like, they are very analytical, very calculative with the relationship. They are more concerned about the money matters, always trying to balance the money, the debts of the marriage, and everything. So, because of so much concentration on the materialistic factors and sorting them out, trying to build a good life, these people can face issues with the spouse, because there can be arguments over money, there can be fights over different or pettiest issues. And with the sixth house, it can also mean that they're too caught up with their routine, that they sometime that romance factor fades away. Okay, then the seventh house means that the spouse, if the first lord of the D1 or the seventh lord of the D1 goes into the seventh house of the D9 chart or the Navamsha chart, that means these people are going to be much about other people. So their marriage is going to be about either, in a practical sense, this can be a couple who are involved into business, who have a partnership business with each other, and they are growing their business. Okay, have 2 to 3 different businesses going in their own name. Okay, it can also mean that these people are much about serving other people. They can be philanthropists, or they can be people who are just serving their family, their relatives, but the concentration is much towards the other people, because seventh house is the other people. And of course, in that process, they don't forget each other, because seventh house is actually the house of marriage. Okay, so the concentration and the focus area is going to be the partnership, the unionship, and the marriage. Then if it is an eighth, see, eighth house is actually a very unpredictable house. It is a house of sudden events, sudden moments, and it is also a house which can lead to death-like situations. By death-like situations, I don't mean typically death, but it means ending to something. Right? So if the first lord of D1 or seventh lord of D1 is in the eighth house, that can mean that either the person's partner or the person, him or herself, is very secretive, okay, is hiding some facts within the marriage, or can be interested into occult, can be interested into eighth house matters, can be controlling over the fixed assets of the marriage, can be too much involved within building the fixed assets of the marriage. Okay, and one thing I have experienced over the years, that eighth house is not just about being secretive. Like, it is about being secretive, but what kind of secrecy is that? That is the matter of the fact. Sometimes, suppose I am a person and I know my partner is very aggressive. My partner may not like a few things, so I'll try to keep those things hidden from that person, from my partner, just in order to maintain that peace. So maybe the person is doing that for a good motive, with a good motive, but sometimes it can be negative. That depends on which planet is it, what is the conjunction, what is the condition of the eighth house and the particular planet we are talking about. Okay, so then if the lords go into the ninth house, that means the person behaves like a guru or like a teacher within the marriage. It can also mean that the person has traveled to a distance after marriage, or gotten married and traveled to a distance. Okay. Ninth house can also mean that these people, their focus is about elevating spiritually after marriage, helping other people after marriage, gaining a lot of knowledge and wisdom after marriage. Okay. And ninth house is also about publishing. It is also about higher knowledge. We know that. I think I've already discussed that. So it can also mean that if a person's first lord is in the ninth house, it can also mean that in the future, they become very good with their writing skills and their publication skills. Okay, then the 10th house. If the first lord or the seventh lord of the D1 is in 10th house of D9, that simply means that these people have to work really, really hard. They have to, their main focus in life is to elevate their life, elevate their status, to work towards the society, to gain, to have a good career. So it's actually, the romantic factor related to marriage can fade out with the lords going into the 10th house, because it's more about working hard, be it in profession, and be it in the marriage, and be in the personal life also. Okay, so this placement can be a little difficult. And honestly, I think each and every placement can be easy and can be difficult altogether. It's no placement is totally good for everyone. No placement is totally bad for everyone. It's just about the combinations in astrology. Then in the 11th house, since it's about social recognition, social service, not social service, but I would say have it going out, attending social parties, social events, all of that, and being involved with relatives, friends, especially not relatives, but friends. Relatives is also there with the sixth and 11th house. Okay, one more thing with sixth house is that if the Lord goes there, that means there can be too much involvement of the relatives within the marriage, or these people are somewhere like in India. There's a tradition that you have to be at service to relatives, or you have to look after them, you have to call them up and talk to them regularly, and call them at all the events and everything. So it can also mean such a responsibility is there towards the relatives or towards the other people of the family. Okay. And sixth house also means that you have to be at service within the marriage. It is required for you to work hard and be at service. And with the 11th house, since it is the higher self of the sixth house, so it also signifies relatives to some extent, but it is generally about large population. It's about social gatherings. So these people are going to be very much socially active and doing things together so as to represent them out in public. Okay. And these people with 11th house, it also means that these people can be a part of NGOs or some sort of multinational organizations. Then in the 12th house, see, 12th house is about escapism, it is about addiction, and it is also about being in their own la la land. So if the lords of the first or the seventh house, or all together, that is in 12th, that means that these people connect with each other on a spiritual level. They want to escape. They are more in their own fantasy world. Okay, but it can also mean that they might travel to a distance. They might travel overseas after marriage. Or it can also mean that they can become more spiritual after marriage. But yes, houses like 6, 8, 12 also create health issues within the person. Suppose the first lord is in the 6th, 8th, 12th of the D9. That can mean that there can be some sort of health issues after marriage to the individual. And similarly, if the 7th lord of the D1 goes into the 6th, 8th, 12th of the D9, that means that the spouse is going to suffer from difficulties in health after marriage. Okay, what kind of difficulties? Those are, of course, questionable through the planets, the conjunction, the aspects, and everything, right? So that was the first thing we were about to discuss in this. Now the second thing is that whichever planet is in the first and seventh axis, or heavily influences the first and seventh axis of the D9 chart, it can also influence with the aspect. Okay, so suppose it is moon. So moon is the planet of nourishment. It's actually the sign of Cancer, but moon is actually about all the fourth house matters. So that means if moon is in the first or the seventh house of the D9 chart, that means the main focused theme of the marriage is about home, nourishment, helping each other, understanding each other emotionally, but it also gives so much of fluctuations within the marriage. Because with moon, planets like moon and Mercury, what happens, people can have a good relationship in the morning and a bad in the afternoon, then good in the night. So there's a fluctuation. So they'll fight sometime in the evening, then they'll suddenly patch up. They'll after an hour they'll just forget what happened. So these kind of fluctuations are there. Okay, because moon and Mercury, these are quick planets and they quickly change their faces or change their moods, and both of them can have major mood swings with moon. Okay, but I have seen this with moon in the first and seventh of the D9 chart, that in this case the person and the partner is quite emotional. So because of that, they take the responsibility of whole of the family or everyone around them. They feel responsible for everyone around them. So they help a lot of individuals. Now, next will be Sun. So Sun is actually a planet of royalty, right? Sun is the king. So Sun in the first or seventh means that the person wants to elevate their status and project a royal life or royal marriage life. So you'll always see with people with Sun in the first or the seventh, they always look for a partner who is good on papers, because they are very conscious about how their image is being projected out in public. Because Sun is your self-esteem, it's your ego, it's your prestige. So that's your main focus, that's your main theme in life. And of course, these people are also very dependable. The person and the partner is going to be very dependable, and they are going to do things for the betterment of other people so that people feel that they can depend on those individuals. Then, if we take another planet, which can be Jupiter, suppose Jupiter is in the first and seventh. Now, let me tell you, Jupiter feels it is directionally strong in the first house, originally in the birth chart. But do you think we should take Jupiter or similar things within the D9? My answer will be no. Because in D9, the Venus will actually do extremely well in the first house rather than Jupiter. Because if Jupiter is in the first house of D9, that will mean although you are fortunate, but you might feel very uncomfortable being in a marriage. Why? Because of Jupiter, see, what do you expect in marriage? You expect love, you expect romance, you expect that unionship, you expect that adjustment, you expect that sacrifice. But with Jupiter is a rigid, adamant, firm planet. If Jupiter is in the ascendant or in the seventh, in the D1 chart, it works beautifully. It works for the betterment of the person, and the person is very lucky and very good with handling on everything, because Jupiter is a strategist. But in D9, it can actually ruin or create problems within the marriage because of the adamant, arrogant behavior of a person. So the person can feel that he or she is the one in authority, and I know everything, I am the righteous one, and there's least amount of adjustment. So that's why this person can take a lot of responsibilities after marriage, because of which the romantic factor of the marriage can deteriorate. Okay. And because of this, honestly, see, Jupiter's aspect is actually considered as a blessing. But I have personally seen people with having Jupiter in the first or the seventh in the D9 chart and having two marriages, or not interested in marriage till late 30s. Okay. Then let's take Venus. So Venus, since it is the Karka of the D9 chart, just like Sun is the Atma Karka of D1 chart, Venus is the Atma Karka of D9 chart. So if Venus is in the first or seventh house of D9 chart, that actually creates a beautiful marriage. Although, again, similar to Moon and Mercury, there are to be fluctuations within the marriage, because these people get offended really, really easy. But still, this gives a beautiful marriage, because people become, see, Venus is a very clever planet. Venus is able to create that unionship only because he knows where to speak, what to speak. He's very diplomatic, he's very manipulative, so he knows where should I adjust so as to maintain the peace, where I should take my, I would take my stand so as to get other person agree to what I'm saying. So this kind of diplomacy is there with Venus. That's why Venus actually helps in creating a good bond within the marriage and the unionship bond within the marriage. And of course, the romantic factor and the all that luxurious experiences there within the marriage. And of course, with Venus influence on first and seventh, marriage life improves. The materialistic and luxurious side of marriage life improves after marriage. Okay, then if it's Saturn, see again, just like Jupiter, Saturn is a very heavy planet to be in the first or the seventh axis of D9. That means the marriage is a very practical bond. In some cases, the marriage can be even just for the sake of getting married. That's it. Because the marriage is just about completing and fulfilling the obligations whichever the society has given us, that you have to be in a marriage, you have to have a child, and you have to be loyal within the marriage. So that's why a person's view towards marriage is very practical, and they are just completing their duty within the marriage. They are at service within the marriage. Okay, and since Saturn is a cold old planet, so usually this helps in compatibility. If a person has influence of Saturn in the first to seventh axis, the other person or the partner should also have the influence of Saturn in the first to seventh axis. Because this way what happens is, if you match a old soul with a very youthful person, how they are going to gel in? Then it will create a problem, and it can lead to disputes, or it can lead to divorce, right? So if there is a person with the influence of Saturn, this person is an old soul, a not very expressive individual, a little bit cold and dry. The other person, if not completely similar, but if the other person understands those things, and the other person knows that yeah, this person is this way, and tries to gel in within the marriage, then only the marriage can work very nicely. Okay, so next planet would be after Saturn, it will be Mars. So with Mars in the first and seventh axis, these individuals are very adventurous, always on the go. They want to reflect a very good status after marriage, so they are always working towards creating that. Because Mars is a soldier, of course. One more thing with Mars happens. Since Mars is a soldier's duty is to protect his citizens and everyone, or in their country or whatever it is, right? So similarly, Mars in the first and seventh house, these people are actually providers. Both of them will work towards providing the family, providing each other, taking care of each other. But of course, since Mars is considered as a soldier, as a commando, there is domination. There can be violence if certain combinations are there and certain planets get connected with that, right? But it does create arguments and all that malefic things within the marriage. But good part is also there, that these people are very passionate. The fire never goes away from the marriage. Okay, then after this, Mercury. With Mercury, I told you, just like Moon, it is a fast moving planet, so there will be fluctuations within the marriage. But one thing I have seen very prominently with Mercury in the first and seventh house, of course, people have a very youthful and very friendly relationship, because Mercury is friends. So if you have Mercury's connection with the first or seventh in the D1, and you also have in the D9, that means you more than a partner, you are friends to your spouse. So it's a very friendly, youthful, childlike relationship. But with Mercury, the person can be very youthful and can, because of that youthfulness, they behave very youthfully with everyone. So they can be suspected to have an affair outside, which may not be true. So this happens with Mercury's influence in the first and seventh of D9. Okay, but on a whole, marriage is more like a friendship. Okay, And then Rahu and Ketu. If Rahu and Ketu are in the first or seventh axis in of the D9, that means that the person is actually, you know, stuck in the loop of themselves and the marriage, themselves and the partnership. So it's always going on and on. And so, see, if Ketu is in the ascendant, then a person is totally blindly at service, because Ketu doesn't have the head. Ketu just has the body. So that's why whatever is told to this individual, they'll just do that, and their mind is actually towards the seventh house, towards the spouse. So they can be a very obsessing towards the partner, and their partner can be also very obsessive, and I won't say actually typically obsessive, but very fickle minded, just like Mercury. Okay, and if Rahu is in the first house and Ketu is in the seventh, that means overall the person is very obsessive about the idea of marriage. They always want to be in a relationship, they always want to be connected with a person, and then they get too involved with the individual that at some point they are like, I need to detach from here. So that's why there's a loop. That's why there's always a loop with Rahu and Ketu. And this thing you can apply to whichever house you want to, wherever Rahu Ketu is. There'll always be, too much involvement with the Rahu factor, and then they want to run towards Ketu. And then they feel dissatisfied with where Ketu is. Then they want to run towards Rahu. So that's why the loop goes on. So now we are going to refer to an example. I'll just quickly share my screen. Okay. So this is a chart I took of right now, whatever time is right now. It's 20th of December. So this is a chart. Now you can use all the things that I have taught in the previous video of spouses appearance through D1 or D9. Right, you could just apply it on the D1 so as to know what is going to be the appearance of the spouse and what is going to be the characteristics and everything for the spouse. Now, considering the knowledge we have gained from this video, the first lord is Mercury, right? So we know the Mercury in the D1 is going into the seventh house. So main purpose of this individual, where at the time this person was born, was about other people, about interacting other people, gaining his or her intellect by interacting with the other people. But is this person going to behave similar within the marriage or with the spouse? No. This person might behave this way with the spouse in the beginning, but as the time passes, the behavior will change. The person himself will change big time. And how do we see that? Just take Mercury as the ascendant lord and see where is it in the Navamsha. It is in the second house, being aspected by sun and moon. So this tells me, and it is in the sign of Scorpio and in the nakshatra of Anuradha. This tells me that this individual, with time, this individual will become very calculative of money, good manager of money. Their focus in life will be about income, finances, having savings, having stability, having future security. And they are going to be extremely cautious about their money and income, and they'll be overprotective about their finances. That is because Mercury is in the sign of Scorpio in the second house. And this person's focus, we can see it from the sun and moon in the eighth house also, that the person focus is going to be completely on money, money matters, assets, gaining, creating fixed assets. So it is all going to be all about money for this person, all about family for this person. This person will be very youthfully involved with the family. He'll be a friend to his or her wife, and also to their to their children. And you'll see that after marriage, this person will be very calculatively communicative, that they can be very complaining, because Mercury, since it has most of the qualities of Virgo, it's about being a nitpicker kind of personality, that you'll observe each and everything, and then you'll criticize the other person for that. See, you need to understand, Saturn is criticism, but Mercury is also a criticism. In what ways? What happens with Saturn? It will criticize you, but it may or may not be vocal about it. But with Mercury, you'll understand that Mercury influence make you observe a lot of things. So this tells me that this person will observe a lot of things and also be vocal about that criticism. Because of that observance, they'll get a lot of things within their mind, and they will be vocal about it also, because Mercury is in the second house. And they can be actually quite hurtful with their communication. Why? Because it is in the sign of Scorpio. And out of frustration, the emotional frustration, I can see this person at some point is going to be very emotionally frustrated. And this person is going to be this individual who will not speak on daily basis. They'll just build up, and there will be one point while they'll just burst it all out. And that can be very hurtful for the other person. It can be the spouse. It can be for the spouse, in front of the spouse, or anyone in the family, because that's what they are within. And this D9 is going to actually work out within their personal life. Okay, now on the second hand, what you'll do is you'll take the seventh lord, so as to know how the spouse is going to be and how their mechanism will be, what transformation they'll face. So there, the seventh lord is Jupiter. It is in the 10th, in the sign of Pisces. So, your spouse is going to be very authoritative, a mixture of an authoritative, adamant individual, rigid individual, plus sensitive individual. He'll have emotions of like an ocean, but it's a very strong personality. Through this chart, I can see that spouse is a very, very, very strong personality and very Jupiterian personality. So reasonable plus strong, but stubborn plus adamant. Right now, what I'll do is I'll simply refer to Jupiter's placement in the D9 chart. So it is in the 11th house. So unlike them, their spouse is going to be very much out with their friends, having a attending social events, going to different meetings of their work, related to their work and everything. So this tells me that this partnership can face a lot of issues, because of the fact that the concentration of this particular individual is going to be on the home, finances and everything. But the concentration of their spouse is going to be more towards the friend circle, parties. And because it is the sign of Leo and it is in Purva Falguni, they are going to be more towards that romantic things. They are least concerned about the responsibilities of the family, but they want to concentrate on the luxury and the recognition part of the life, traveling here and there in the name of work, and of course for work as well, but attending, meeting influential people, being connected with them and all of that. Okay, so this was the example that will make you understand what I'm trying to say. The second thing is, the second point that we did was the influence in the first and the seventh house. So first and the seventh house do not have any influence. Let me just check it again. Yeah, no planet is aspecting the first house, and yeah, and the seventh house even. Seventh house is being aspected by Jupiter and Rahu. So it is giving me similar prediction to what I communicated about the spouse. But first house is not receiving any of the aspects. And the second condition, like, further when you'll go down and down, into the predictions, you'll refer to the first lord of the D9 and the seventh lord of the D9 and add on the predictions. Like I told you in the previous video, that it's all about addition in astrology, 1 + 1 + 1. It's never either or, right? Okay, guys, so this was my analysis about, about how and what to see in D9 in respect of marriage and partner. Okay, I hope it was helpful. And these things, so as to understand this video, and if you understand this video and the previous video, you'll get a lot of perspective about the marriage and how things are going to play out within your marriage. Plus it is going to be very helpful in compatibility also, because I feel, let me tell you, gunas are not at all required in compatibility. I have even made 2 to 3 videos on compatibility through ascendants, compatibility through zodiac signs and everything. You must go and hear them out, so that you will have a better view about how to see the compatibility. And of course, these things also matter the most, so as to see the compatibility. Okay, guys, so I hope this was helpful. If you are new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you guys would like to have your personal readings from me, or you want to read my blogs, or you want to know about the courses that are available with me, you can check out the link below, www.anmollastrology.com. And under the reading section, you can have your personal basic readings. Under the unique reading section, you can have unique readings booked with me. And unique readings, let me tell you, those are about things which are about in-depth knowledge of astrology, like Tribhagi analysis, Dasha analysis, Nakshatra analysis, birth time rectification, etc., etc. So guys, we'll see you then with the next video. And it would be lovely if you guys can give me any ideas so as to what sort of content you need to see in the videos, because I guess there are so many things about astrology which are not available on the internet. So knowing that from you guys makes it very easy for me to make the content for another video. Okay, bye bye, take care.